What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of news to go over this week, but this week we start off with some sad news unfortunately, and that is that Cadillac has officially announced that the 2019 model year is going to be the last for the ATS-V and CTS-V. Now the ATS, the regular version, is already dead. 2018 was the last model year for that, and so now the actual V version of the ATS and the CTS-V are both going to be dead here after the 2019 model year. So, they did reiterate that the CT5 is coming, and there's also going to be a CT4, and we've seen both of those spied testing, and they're under development, and those will most likely get V versions as well. So there are new ones coming, but I don't know if they're going to have the same crazy engines that these ones did. And they also did say, the CT6 Sport that was shown at the New York Auto Show, very cool car. I saw it in person there. But they said that now it's going to be just the CT6V. And so instead of, it's sweet. It's got the 4.2 liter twin turbo V8, the new one they have here, 550 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque. Should be very, very fast, but still is way less than the 640 horsepower from the CTS-V. And considering the CT6V, is higher in the food chain, we all, I guess, expected it would have more power than the CTS-V. And so them first saying it's the V Sport and then being like, oh, actually it's just the regular V, just kind of seems like a really lazy approach, especially considering there's no, this definitely has to be a last minute decision, because there's no way they would reveal it publicly to the world with one name and then the last minute change it to another name. That would never be part of the plan originally. So not sure what the shakeup is, if they got, there's some kind of V version got canceled and so they're just putting the V badge on this other version instead, or what. But Cadillac just continues that they will have more V series models in the future. Could even spread to SUVs or something, I'm sure, since everyone else is doing that as well. But anyway, unfortunate to see the CTS-V and ATS-V are going by the wayside. But if you want one, you can still go in for the 2019 model year. So go out and buy them if you want them, or get it on the used market. They're both fantastic cars. I drove them both on track last year at the V Performance Driving Academy. They're amazing. Well worth owning. Next, awesome American car that seems to be getting killed off here. This isn't confirmed, this one, but Automotive News in Canada is reporting that supposedly the Chrysler 300 will end production in the 2020 calendar year. So it still has about 2 more model years to go before it gets killed off. This isn't official though yet, but there's just, I guess, apparently the union workers at the plants are also saying that they've already been told that it's going to be killed off and they're going to be building a new van instead, a new minivan, and so that will most likely be a production version of the Portal van that was shown as a concept here back at the beginning of this year. And so there's rumors that could come by 2020. Again, as soon as the 300's done being produced, they'll step right in and start producing the Portal. So since this is another van to kind of keep it separate from the Pacifica, it'll most likely be an EV. The concept was an electric van, and so it's likely that that's what this is going to be, is just an EV van, whereas the Pacifica will be gas and hybrid. And so we'll have to see, how that all pans out. Again, that one's not confirmed yet, but that would be a shame, because I think the Chrysler 300 still had a lot of potential if they actually invested in improving it and stuff. But a new vehicle, some good news here. BMW has revealed the 2019 Z4 30i and the M40i versions. So, at Pebble Beach, we saw the M40i first edition or launch edition version, and they didn't give us too many of the details. Now we have all the details in the normal versions and the slower one, the 30i here. So the 30i version is going to come first. That's going to be a 2019 model year vehicle coming in March. Has the 2-liter turbo 4 with 255 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque, 8-speed automatic only. There was rumors earlier that it would have a manual option, at least for the 4-cylinder one. Not the case, unfortunately, at least not yet. 8-speed auto only, 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. Later on next year, an M40i version will be coming as a 2020 model year vehicle, and that's going to get the 3-liter turbo inline 6, same one as the Supra, 382 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque here in America, and those numbers will most likely be very similar to the Supra, I'm guessing, and they're claiming it'll do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. In Europe, it only does 335 horsepower, though, instead of 382, and that's due to their more strict emission regulations. I think they have to particulate filter they have to add on there that kills the horsepower. So that's a bummer for those in Europe. But anyway, yeah, expect the Supra to have very similar numbers. It's using the same engines, and if the BRZ86 is anything to go off of, it'll have identical horsepower. So we'll have to wait and see, but I would safely assume that is the amount of power you're going to get out of the Supra as well. Other things here, though, there's also going to be in Europe a cheaper 20i version of the Z4 here, which also uses a 2-liter 4-cylinder, but has only 194 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque, but we won't be getting that version here in the States. Other info, though, about that top dog M40i version is it gets an adaptive suspension, upgraded M Sport brakes, and an electronic locking rear differential, and those parts are also going to be optional as part of an M Sport package on the 4-cylinder as well, so if you don't want to go up to the higher horsepower one, you can get all those good handling goodies on the 4-cylinder. The interior, they all seem to be getting the digital gauges, it sounds like. They all are going to be getting the 10.25-inch iDrive screen, and the M Sport models also get seats with adjustable bolstering, which is a nice feature. BMW also says the trunk is 50% larger than the one in the old Z4, and it stays the same size regardless of whether the top is up or down, thanks to them going back to a soft top and not the retractable hard top of the old one. So anyway, that's exciting to see. BMW has also shown the Vision iNext concept, which is a preview for an electric crossover that they are actually planning to produce in 2021. Now, obviously, this is just concept styling. It'll be toned down a ton for production whenever it finally comes, but it has a lot of very intriguing ideas as far as futuristic stuff that almost certainly won't make it to the production version, but could come on another vehicle down the road or something. But so this one supposedly would be autonomous in theory, with a steering wheel and pedals that can retract or pop out on demand. There's some futuristic tech as well on the inside as far as new features. They're calling shy tech is what they call them. And so there's touch controls on most of the surfaces there in the back seat. They can understand drawings for commands like turning the music on with drawing a musical note. And that's interesting though. To me, that seems way harder than just pushing a volume knob or saying radio on with a voice command. But if you like drawing, you'll love this. It also does have the intelligent personal assistant, BMW calls it, that responds to Hey BMW commands. You can do voice stuff if you want instead of drawing and playing Pictionary with your car. Another idea is BMW has introduced its intelligent beam technology, which uses a projector to make any surface into a controllable screen. So you can hold up whatever, a piece of paper or something, and it'll project an iDrive interface or something on there, and you can just use your gestures to control that if you want, and it'll even follow you, so you don't have to be perfectly still or anything. But again, not sure why you would really need that stuff, but it's kind of interesting to see them toying with some of these futuristic ideas, and very cool at least, just the lighting of the way they lit everything in that interior for those gestures and stuff. It's all very cool, and makes for a very exciting concept car at least. One actual production vehicle BMW has shown a teaser for is the 2019 3 Series. Supposedly this is a 2019 model, so it should be coming very soon. We do know it's going to be officially debuted at the Paris Motor Show next month, but all we can see here is just the car's LED lights are on, the accent lighting there, and it's under a thin sheet, so you can make out a lot of the details actually, which is kind of cool, and looks larger and more like the 5 Series than even I was expecting. Looks pretty good though. We'll have to wait and see, obviously whenever the veil is removed, but supposedly there's going to be a 330i version that's coming first, with a 340i version coming later next year as a 2020 model. Speaking of the 3 Series though, Genesis has revealed pricing for the G70 this week, and the starting price is actually exactly the same as the 3 Series, the current one. So it's going to be starting at $35,895 including destination. So the base car gets that 2-liter turbo 4 with 252 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque, manual or automatic. The 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6 is auto only, of course, all stuff we've already known here, 365 horsepower on that one. But some cool things as far as the pricing here. The driver safety systems like the adaptive cruise control that are usually optional extras in these luxury cars, it's all standard here in the G70, which is pretty cool. And the sport model, which is only on the 4-cylinder version, but that with the manual is only $38,895, and that it's not decontented or anything. It actually gives you a limited slip differential, Brembo brake, brakes, a sports exhaust system, and 19-inch wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. So, a lot of other vehicles, when you get the manual, it's kind of decontented a little bit, and it's kind of on a base trim or something. This, they give you all the good stuff. And so it seems like they really are trying to push people into that manual, because they kind of priced the automatic version of this sport 4-cylinder at a disadvantage, which I'll get to in a second here. But some of the other stuff here for the manual 4-cylinder one, it also gets LED headlights, the full LED ones, Lexicon 15 speaker stereo, and heated and cooled front seats as well. So that's awesome. But yeah, if you want that 2.0T Sport with an automatic, it's $7,000 more at $45,895. And you also, although you do get an option for all-wheel drive with that, you don't get Brembos, you don't get the sports exhaust or the manual handbrake. So I can't figure out why it'd be $7,000 more. Like, yes, if you want it with the auto, okay, $1,500 is usually the standard upcharge for an automatic these days from the luxury brands. Go for that. But yeah, $7,000 more is just crazy, especially since the 3.3 liter twin turbo V6 version starts at $44,745, and that of course gets the automatic by default. So you can have the base, 100 horsepower more V6 version for the same price as the 4-cylinder automatic with the sports stuff, half of the sports stuff. So really strange, because even with the twin turbo V6 version, all of them get the Brembos as standard as well. And so it's, it kind of boggles my mind. Who's going to buy the automatic 4-cylinder? It's like you go for the manual if you want the 4-cylinder apparently, or at least if you want a sporty one. And then if you want a sporty automatic, just go for the higher horsepower V6. It sounds like the way to go. Not sure why they did that. That's really bizarre. And anyway, that twin turbo V6 version will top out at around $51,245 fully loaded. So right in line with about what you see from the Kia Stinger GT, makes sense there. Other stuff here though, you also with that V6 version can get an electronically controlled suspension as well on that sport model, which is cool. And anyway, these are actually on sale now, supposedly. They're starting to arrive at dealers. I have not seen any yet. I'm hoping to get one to review very soon. But in the meantime, yeah, very cool to see those. Aston Martin this past week has announced plans for a third mid-engine hypercar, even though we haven't even seen the Valkyrie yet, like on the streets. I don't even know when those are going to start deliveries. But anyway, they're already working on the third one here, currently codenamed 003. And it will borrow tech from the Valkyrie and include a hybrid powertrain and lots of carbon fiber like the Valkyrie. But some unique things for this car is it's actually going to be turbocharged, have some type of turbo engine, along with active aerodynamics and suspension systems for what they're saying will be outstanding levels of downforce in a road legal car. And it's going to be more practical than the Valkyrie, they say, as well, with space for luggage and more practical concessions, whatever that means, for use on the road. So it should be a little more comfortable, a little less raw like the Valkyrie. And anyway, these are supposedly going to be arriving by the end of 2021, and only 500 of those will be made. It's amazing. I don't know how many billionaires and multimillionaires are out there to be buying all these limited production multi-million-dollar cars. Like, they're literally at this point tens of thousands of these limited edition cars that seem to be coming out every single year. And I mean, I don't know how the 1% can buy this many limited edition vehicles. It seems like we're living in this bubble that has to pop at some point. Like, people are going to have to stop buying so many multi-million-dollar supercars someday, I think. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of these very rarefied vehicles, Aston has also teased the DBS GT Zagato, which is going to be coming pretty soon as well here. So it's based on the new DBS Superleggera, but with an even more stylish body by Zagato, supposedly. I'm not sure how you get more stylish than the DBS Superleggera currently is, but we have the teaser image there, and that's it so far. But for this one, they're only making 19 of these. 19. So I'm sure these will never, ever be driven. Not a single one. They'll probably all get parked and forgotten about, sadly. But yeah, so I guess cool to see that. It'll at least be a beautiful thing to look at, if nothing else. Speaking of rare supercars, though, Ferrari is also hopping on the bandwagon once again, showing the Monza SP1 and SP2. But man, these things are drop-dead gorgeous, in my opinion. It's a modern take on the Barchetta Ferraris from the 1940s and 50s, the little racing cars. And it's based on the 812 Superfast, actually. So that means you get the same glorious, naturally aspirated V12 engine, but the horsepower is even boosted beyond that to 809 horsepower, 530 pound-feet of torque. 2.9 seconds 0 to 60, all while you have no windshield, no roof, or anything to obstruct your hearing of that glorious V12 engine. And if it sounds like I'm swooning for this car, I am. Yeah, this thing, I would love to have one of these. And so, yeah, you can see it's a one-seater, or you can get the two-seater. That's what the SP2 is for, the two-seater version. And yeah, neither of them have windshields, but the cars are actually street legal, and they're going to be building 500 of each of these, actually, so not that rare. And so maybe I'll actually get to see one of these in person someday. That would be amazing. But yeah, so Ferrari also, speaking of that windshield, they claim that supposedly it doesn't need one because there's that little bump in front of the steering wheel there, and that's supposed to divert airflow up and over your head. But that's still not going to stop bugs or anything like that. So if you're brave, you can go with just sunglasses or something if you don't care about bugs in your teeth. But otherwise, I think, maybe having a helmet would be a safer bet. Anyway, last little tidbit here, they mentioned the SP1 version weighs 3,307 pounds. So although, it's got some carbon fiber and stuff, it's still based on the A12 Superfast, which, isn't super light or anything. And so even though these look very light, they're still, that's pretty light, but, not super, super light or anything. But anyway, other Ferrari news moving on here is they announced a plan to launch 15 new models by 2022. And these are going to include hybrid vehicles, more special editions, and their new upcoming crossover they officially revealed the name for, and I believe how you say it is Purosangue, I think, is how you say that, Purosangue. So I probably butchered that, but I'm not Italian. And anyway, that name is certainly going to trip up many Americans, including myself. But anyway, it translates to thoroughbred, so that's why they picked it. But yeah, a little bit of a tricky name there. Anyway, they said at the presentation, though, they're not calling it an SUV. They said they don't want Ferrari and SUV to be mentioned in the same sentence. So I guess they're calling it a crossover or something else. I don't know. But it basically will be an SUV, I think. But yeah, apparently that's a no-no. So anyway, interesting to see that. And I think that SUV they said would be coming by 2021 or 2022, I think. So yeah, anyway, interesting to see that. Mercedes-AMG this past week, getting back to earth here, revealed a relatively affordable vehicle, the A35 AMG version here. So this is a hatchback only for those of you in Europe. And there will be a hotter 45 version as well, which hopefully will be, distributed worldwide as well. But anyway, we know we're going to be getting the regular A-Class sedan for the first time ever. We're also going to be getting the CLA and the GLA here, but not this hatchback. But most likely all this stuff will be transplanted into the sedan, the CLA and the GLA as well. And so we'll get all those versions hopefully as well. But at least for now, we see what the hatchback version looks like for Europe. But it does have some pretty good specs. So, again, this isn't the 45, so it's not quite as high of horsepower. It has a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, but 302 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. So depending on how they price this, could be a very interesting competitor to stuff like the Audi S3, even the Golf R or something like that. I have a hard time thinking this will even be beneath 50 grand, but maybe it could be, low to mid 40s would be awesome. We'll have to see. They didn't announce pricing, of course, since we don't have any US versions yet. Other specs here, it's got all-wheel drive that goes, it switches between front-wheel drive mode, and it can do a 50-50 split front and rear. So that's, I think, the most as it gets. So it's not like a rear bias system, it's more of a front biased all-wheel drive system. Again, going back to those more cheaper car roots. But anyway, it's got a 7-speed dual-clutch auto, independent suspension with electronically adjustable shocks. It's got some bigger 13.8-inch drilled and slotted brakes with 4-piston calipers, and it's got 13-inch rotors in the back there. It's got cooler looks as well. You can see with the rear spoiler there, rear diffuser, and it even has front bumper canards and a lip there, similar to like what you saw in the GLA AMG. Interior gets an AMG steering wheel, seats, and color accents to spice it up a little bit. It also introduces the AMG Track Pace app, which unfortunately they didn't show any pictures of. There's an older version of the Track Pace app, which just showed on the infotainment screen or on your smartphone of, it'll trace you around the track and, get your telemetry and lap times and all that type of stuff. But this one, apparently now on these new ones, including this new A35, it's an optional thing you can add on, but it'll actually, you can have tracks preloaded in, or you can actually add your own track, and it'll actually use the optional heads-up display to project the ideal racing line for that track on the windshield, which basically is like you're playing Forza in real life, which is really, really cool. And so that's a very awesome feature. Again, I wish I could illustrate that for you guys, but you have to use your imagination until they reveal some pictures of that. Anyway, this new A35 is going to be available in Europe in January, and hopefully we get some details on the other versions soon as well. Mercedes has also revealed the AMG GT 43 version of the four-door coupe version of the AMG GT. Very confusing. But anyway, this also is only for Europe, at least for now, and so it has the same engine and 48-volt electrical system as the 53 version, but with 68 less horsepower and 15 less pound-feet of torque for a total of 367 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. It also can get a short 22 horsepower burst with Mercedes EQ boost system, which is pretty cool, although 22 horsepower might not be even enough to really be felt, but cool nonetheless. It still uses the AMG 9-speed automatic and a rear biased all-wheel drive system, and it'll still do 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, they're saying. So very cool to see that, and I think that would sell pretty well over here too if they did offer it. Audi though has revealed the 2019 e-tron crossover finally, and this of course we will be getting here in the States, although we don't get the cool digital camera side mirrors like some of the other markets due to our outdated laws. But anyway, looks very familiar to other recently revealed Audis like the Q3 and Q8, both on the outside and on the inside there, but does have those cool camera side mirrors, like I said, which kind of nicely makes it a little more futuristic than even some of the newest Audis we've seen. Other things though, mechanically, it has 2 electric motors. Some of this info we already got a little bit of info on previously, but it has a bigger electric motor in the back and a smaller one in the front. It does 355 horsepower and 414 pound-feet of torque for up to 60 seconds straight, and that's before, I guess, the electric motors overheat or whatever, but they said you'd hit the top speed well before that anyway. The top speed is only 124 miles per hour, so we can get there very quickly, and so yeah, 60 seconds is plenty because you'll never even be able to use that much to begin with. There's also a boost function which works for 8 seconds to give you a max of 402 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque, and 0 to 60 takes 5.5 seconds. It also tows about 4,000 pounds as well, so pretty decent as far as SUV credentials go. It defaults to rear-wheel drive, but will use that front motor if it senses slip or more power is requested. The battery is a 95 kilowatt-hour pack, but the EPA hasn't released any range data yet. We do know on the more lenient European cycle, it gets 248 miles of range. It supports 150 kilowatt-hour DC fast charging, so it can supposedly get 80% of its battery life back in 30 minutes, and they're planning to have 500 charging stations built by next July through the Electrify America network. So they're going to be putting these up all over the place to hopefully help so that people can buy these and actually have places to charge them. It has an air suspension with 3 inches of height adjustment and 50-50 weight distribution, although they did not say what the curb weight is. I'm sure it's pretty heavy considering all those batteries and stuff. Anyway, pricing here starts at $75,795. And that's pretty steep for an SUV that's roughly the size of a Q5, and those only start at about $42,000, so you're paying, over a $30,000 premium for this electric version, although it does come much more nicely equipped than a base Q5 does. You get with the e-tron here standard 16-speaker Bang & Olufsen stereo, heated and ventilated seats, panoramic sunroof, among a few other things, so a little bit, nicer equipped, so maybe it's more, comparable to like a $50,000 Q5 or something, but still is a huge upcharge for those batteries and the EV stuff. And the fully loaded first edition of this e-tron is going to run you about $87,695. They're going to be on sale in the second quarter of next year, and I'll be very curious to see how many people go for this and will pay that $30,000 premium or whatever for the EV functionality there. They're currently taking pre-orders. They're also planning to reveal a sportback version which has more coupe-like styling supposedly. That'll be coming next year supposedly, and also they're going to be showing an e-tron GT concept at the LA Auto Show in November, and that will likely share the same underpinnings or similar underpinnings, but will, according to Audi, be a highly dynamic coupe, which sounds interesting, according to Audi. And the plan is, they're going to be doing 12 EVs by 2025. So here's your first 3. and we're gonna have 9 more coming here. So yeah, should be interesting to see how that all plays out. The last Audi story, actually, there's one more here, is they've also launched a subscription service like their rivals have already done, according to Automotive News. It'll be called Audi Select, and the pilot program is currently only in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it's going to be $1,395 a month, so $1,400 a month. But they don't limit you on vehicle classes like some of the other companies. Whenever they do their things, it's like, well, here's our cheap trim, and you get all the base models, and then you go for the mid-level one with the larger stuff. And that all makes sense, but with Audi, it's just one price, and you get, several different levels. So that gives you access for $1,400 to an A4, an A5 convertible, an S5 coupe, and Q5, and even the Q7. So, if you need a larger SUV or you want one, you can even get that for the same price. You can change vehicles as often as twice a month, and you can't keep a car longer than 6 months. So you can't be the one hogging the Q7. You got to take the Q5 every once in a while and stuff. Also, includes 24 days of free rentals through the Silver Car by Audi program, which is in 24 different U.S. cities, and that allows you, when you're traveling, to also have an Audi. If you really don't want to ever be not driving an Audi, you can have those as well, which is cool. They include that as well, a nice little perk. So anyway, interesting to see that, and they're going to, obviously see how it does there, and then go from, expanding it to other places if it does well. Volkswagen has announced a new package and a few changes to the GTI for 2019 here for the model year. And so, first off, there's this new limited edition Rabbit Edition, which has black wheels, darker headlights, black spoiler, and mirror caps for a stealth look. Unfortunately, they only showed these 2 pictures, and that's it. It's going to be available in either cornflower blue, white, silver, or black. Other stuff for all GTIs, they all now get a mechanical limited slip differential for 2019 here, even on the base one. Before, you had to go to the SE trim to get that. So that's cool. It's now standard equipment. Also, all GTIs now get the bigger Golf R brakes, and you also get standard blind spot monitoring and automatic emergency braking as well. And also, if you go for the SE, that now automatically gives you leather. So the only way to get the awesome plaid seats now is to go for a base model, which is a little unfortunate, but you get that better equipment in the base model anyway, and so that's okay. But the only pricing that was revealed so far was for that base model, and it's $1,180 more. So there's bigger Golf R brakes, and all the other upgrades there at the limited slip diff and stuff. You're paying for all that stuff, the blind spot monitoring. All that stuff is basically $1,200 more. So now the manual base GTI starts at $28,490, and the automatic is $29,590. So basically, you're $28,500, and basically almost $30,000 for the automatic version. So yeah, getting up there. The GTI is not the low to mid $20,000 hatchback it used to be, and yeah, they just keep pushing it more and more up market. But it's the way it goes, and that's why there's all these other great options from other companies to give you a little bit more, like the Hyundai Elantra GT and stuff in the mid-20s if you want to go for that stuff. Another very interesting thing that came out this week, Peugeot revealed their concept they're going to be showing ahead of the Paris Motor Show, and it is the E-Legend concept, and man, is that thing a looker. I love the way that thing looks. Obviously a retro design, so that's what gets me, but it's inspired by the 504 Coupe from the 60s, and yeah, it also, the taillights there in the back look like they're from a future Mustang, but that does, tie into the old Peugeot there, so, it's, I'd say no foul as far as, it's not like it's ripping off the Mustang or anything. But I really wish Ford would just do something like this for the next gen Mustang. Make it small like the original Mustang, and then you could downsize the engine, give it less horsepower, make it more fuel efficient, easier to hit those EPA targets, but it'll still be just as fast if you have a smaller, lighter vehicle. I think that would be so cool. Just imagine like this concept from Peugeot with like single headlamps instead in the front, and Mustang badges on it. Like, oh man, makes me swoon. I would love to see something like that, but unfortunately I think bigger is better here in America, so I'm sure the Mustang will just continue to grow in the next gen version. Anyway though, snapping out of my daydream here, back to the reality with Peugeot here. This concept is an EV, so but it's a fast EV. It has 456 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque, and 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds thanks to a 100 kilowatt-hour battery. So very quick, but again, this is just a concept. Although they've done some really swoopy and cool coupes in the past, So there's a possibility they could build something like this if the demand is there. But anyway, interesting to see that. Speaking of Ford, though, we do have some stories from them this past week. So first off, they revealed pricing for the 2019 Edge ST. So it's about $1,700 more than the old Edge Sport. So now the starting price is $43,350 here. So it has 20 more horsepower, 30 more pound-feet of torque than the old Edge Sport did. It also has that new 8-speed automatic, a sportier suspension, and on the inside it's a little sportier with the more bolstering on the seats and stuff like that. Also has beefier brakes. There's also an upgraded brake package you can get now for these, and it also has the revised looks, of course, that go along with all that. But yeah, so about $1,700 more. And they're also, the regular Edge now starts at $31,000, for the non-performance versions. Anyway, interesting to see that. Other Ford news, though, that's even more interesting is they have trademarked the Adrenaline name in Canada. And you might remember the Adrenaline name was last used on the Ford Explorer Sport Track truck, but the Adrenaline didn't have an E at the end. This has an E at the end. So There's really only about, they could put this on an F-150 or something, but it's more likely, I think, that it could be one of two things. It's either, it's probably for a crossover, either for the Baby Bronco, or it could be the new name for the Mustang-inspired EV, since they've given up on the Mach 1 idea. So the Baby Bronco, it's more likely, there was also trademarked previously the names Maverick and Timberline. I think both of those would fit the Baby Bronco better than Adrenaline, but if you want to go for something youthful, who knows. But anyway, so because I think it'll be one of those other two names for the Baby Bronco, I think it's most likely this is going to be put on the electric Mustang-inspired crossover. I still really love the name Lightning, though. I really wish they would just do that. But maybe they'll do Adrenaline. That would be cool, I think, as well. Although Ford Adrenaline doesn't really roll off the tongue very well. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Anyway, interesting to hear that nonetheless. Mitsubishi has teased their next-gen Triton pickup truck, which is their small truck they sell in other markets. We haven't had a Mitsubishi pickup truck since the badge job version of the Dodge Dakota back in the day. But anyway, the current Triton here, it's a real body-on-frame truck with four-wheel drive, and so this new version coming will most likely have that as well, and obviously just have the looks similar to the Eclipse Cross and all those other new Mitsubishis as well. And yeah, unlikely this will come to the United States still, just because it's harder as far as meeting our safety and emissions requirements. But it could be possible. With how hot trucks are, I'm sure that the executives at Mitsubishi, it must be very tempting to try and bring this over. So we'll have to see, but I wouldn't hold my breath. One midsize truck that does seem to be coming here is there's new rumors from Automotive News this week about Ram working on a new body-on-frame midsize truck for America, and it would supposedly be built alongside the Jeep Scrambler pickup truck and the regular new Wrangler at the Toledo, Ohio plant. And this could arrive in 2020 as a 2021 model year vehicle, is the rumor. And FCA did say they wanted to bring a midsize truck to market here, but they were saying it would be by 2022. So this is a little bit earlier, saying 2020 for the arrival. So we'll have to see. I think the sooner they can get one out, the better, obviously, with how hot this market is before, if gas prices end up going up, which everyone seems to think they eventually will, the sooner you can get out, a gas guzzler, the better. So anyway, interesting to see that rumor. Lastly, we have some spy photos this past week, thanks to my spy photographer, Brian Williams. The first is the next-gen 2020 Chevy Tahoe was spied for the first time here. Obviously, has lots of heavy camo on it there, so you can't tell too much, but looks to retain the same blocky body-on-frame style as always, but will have an independent rear suspension according to these spy pictures here. This one also looks to be some type of performance version because it has quad exhaust tips, which is, I think, a first for the Tahoe, at least right there in the bumper. So that's interesting. Maybe this could be like an RST version or something. I don't know. But anyway, this should still continue to offer the 5.3-liter V8 and the 6.2-liter V8. And there's also rumors they could add a 3-liter diesel at some point, and possibly even the 2.7-liter Turbo 4 from the Silverado to possibly compete with the EcoBoost offerings for the Expedition and stuff like that. That's a little more iffy of a rumor. They might just stick with the V8s, and I don't think anyone would be mad at them if that's what they did. But we'll have to see. Anyway, that's rumored these are going to be debuting in the middle of next year, so interesting to see that. some other GM news is that the mid-engine Corvette continues to be tested at the Nürburgring, and it's even been getting some air, as you can see there, a nice little jump. And so anyway, we're starting to see pictures of these things all over the place now, all the time, and there's really nothing new to report. So that's why, there's new pictures coming out every week, but I might not talk about them every week because there's nothing new. So hopefully this actually gets revealed here soon, maybe the LA Auto Show or Detroit in January would be nice. We'll have to see, so they don't continue this tease for too long. But anyway, cool to see it running around at least. The BMW 8 Series convertible was spied basically without camouflage as well, and no surprises here either. It's basically the same as the Coupe, just in convertible form, exactly how you would expect it to look. That should debut relatively soon as well. I mean, some of the stuff is saying, rumors-wise, it won't come till early next year, but I think like the LA Auto Show would be a great place in November. Lots of people in LA buy these things. Couldn't make a lot of sense there, but we'll have to see. Anyway, interesting to see that. And lastly, the next-gen Porsche 911 GT3 was spied running around the Nürburgring as well. And so you can see it's got wider fenders there, wider than a regular 911 in typical fashion. Doesn't have a huge rear spoiler yet. I'm sure that's something they'll include eventually, unless this is the touring version. They're already working on that or something. But cool to see them still working on that. And also there was an article by Autoblog this past week that reminded me, because last week I reported the rumor about how it could have some type of turbo engine, but Porsche, Autoblog reminded me, Porsche did continually deny that rumor. They have said, Porsche executives themselves have said, we're keeping the GT3 naturally aspirated and we will offer it with a manual. So I think it's safe to say that those two things will be staying in this new GT3, and those rumors, were just that, rumors and nothing more. And so that's great news if that's, really is what they're going to be doing. And we'll keep the GT3 very, very desirable, and probably my current favorite Porsche, thanks to, again, that screaming 9000 Redline engine is just amazing. But anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know your thoughts and everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.